you get out of prison, and before you always had bodyguards and so forth. Outside of the Pablo Escobar hit, were there any actual hits on your life or attempts on your life?
No, so here's the interesting thing. When I came out of prison, a year after I came out of prison, the Medellin drug cartel went to war with the Cali Cartel, and the Medellin drug cartel got wiped out. I was at my father's house, and I get a call from this lawyer needs to see me. And I've been out of prison for a year. It was the summer. I was visiting my parents. And so he comes to see me, and he's like, I'm representing such and such, one of the head of the Cali Cartel. He said, I want to tell you something. You don't have to ever worry for your life. We know how you stood up and didn't tell nothing. See, the farm where we landed and refueled in Colombia from Bolivia, that farm belonged to a young man that was one of the highest ranking members of the Cali Cartel. And I could have taken him down if I had ever said his name. But they knew because they went to Panama and they caught the guy that tortured me. And I'm like, you didn't do this to honor me. You did this because I'm 23 years old and you wonder what the hell did I say? He said, well, we do. We know those people are animals. And my godfather said to me, look, my nephew went to Peru to make a drug deal, and I had to spend $25,000 to eventually get him, and they sent him to me in a box cut up in 4 pieces. So we thought you would have talked. So I created that reputation.
You know, when you think about the tons of cocaine that you helped distribute into the United States, you know, at the time when you first started, cocaine was a rich man's drug. No one thought it was addicting. It was a party drug, not a big deal. You look in 2020, you look at 2020 at the chaos that all that cocaine has created. Like, for example, I've never tried cocaine myself because at 23 years old, my best friend overdosed and died on cocaine. And I remember going to that funeral and saying, I'm not going to try this. This stuff is too dangerous. Cocaine eventually became crack and ended up just destroying Black and Latino communities. Ended up creating crack babies. Ended up where kids would sell crack to their own mothers. People killed over it. People lost their lives and lost their freedom. When you think about the massive devastation that you created in order just to make money, as a born again Christian, how do you really deal with that these days?
I can't correlate it. No matter what I do. So I've done a lot of youth outreach, and I preach a lot, and I work with youth a lot. And people say, so I'll give you an example. So I did this big event, and this girl comes to me and says, Dr. Valdes, will you pray for my baby? And I'm looking at this baby, and I'm like, yeah, can you tell me about it? And she said, yeah, my baby was born in the toilet of a crack house. Did not die because the toilet didn't flush. So don't think that breaks me. I live with that for the rest of my life, and rightfully so. And even though I live a great life now, I've gone through hell. I had a son overdose, and I had his mother call me December 25th, tell me he was dead. And by God's grace, he was saved. So we do things in life, and I tell people, I don't justify anything that I do I don't do what I do to make up for the wrong that I did. And even though I didn't think I was doing wrong to anybody, and it turned out to what it did, the only consolation for me, if any at all, and I didn't pay enough. Honestly, I should have died. But the only consolation was that when I saw what happened, that cocaine was no longer for the rich and famous, I walked away on my own. And there's no other case where anybody ever walks away from making that type of money and that power. But yeah, I live with that all my life. And I've seen horrific things, and I've gone through hell. And, I don't cry about it. Why? Because, I deserve it. See, people think that, God, I do wrong and I'm going to ask God to forgive me. Yeah, but the thing about it is I see God in 3 dimensions, right? I see God omnipotent, and he can see and he knows everything. But I also see that God is merciful, but God is just. So what is justice? If Jorge Valdes gets away with all that he got away with, then God ain't just. The fact that I'm alive, well, it could be God's mercy, but justice is that you punish wrong and you reward righteousness, right? So I live with that. I'll live with that to the day that I die. And that's what I tell people. Sometimes we do things, We think that we're not hurting anybody. We think that we are doing something innocent. I mean, we used to joke about it. We used to say, hey, we're the Kennedys of the 20th century. They deal alcohol, we're dealing cocaine. But the truth is, yeah, I live with that pain every day of my life. And there's no way to make sense of it. There's nothing that I can do. There's nothing I can die 20 I can do 20 life sentences. I can die 20 times, still not make up for the wrong I did, right? So can I make sense of it? No. Can I thank God that I've gotten a different chance and that I get an opportunity to do some good and to make a difference in people's lives. We send millions of books. I've sent 100,000 books to prisons to try to get prisoners to not become Jorge Valdes. I work with youth, trying to help them raise awareness that, listen, you think that these choices you're making today, there's consequences to every bit of our choices. And yeah, I suffered consequences, not enough. But then how do you draw the line? What do you say is enough for what I did? Impossible for me to say. So I can't dwell in the past because I cannot be defined. My present, my future cannot be defined by my past, right? I am who I want. I did what I did, and there's nothing I can do to erase that. God knows that if I could, God knows that if I could go through Panama 100 times, and that was the worst experience any human being can ever dream of, I'd do it all over again to try to erase that past, but there's none. So I can't live punishing myself every day. All I can do is, well, what can I do now with the gift that God's given me in the second chance to make a difference?